Welcome to Self-Discovery Media Network, formerly known as Self-Discovery Radio. Each week we bring you illuminating shows from those making a difference in the lives of others. They've taken their own journey. They're here to share their skills, their wisdom to help you on yours. You can see more about us at selfdiscoverymedia.com, and please listen to our wonderful collection of shows. Our next show is...
Hi, welcome to Holistic Transformation. By working together, we can change the world. I'm your host, Diane J. Shaver. We're brought to you today by the free webinar, Turn Your Great Idea into Dollars, showing you how people like Mrs. Fields of Fields Cookies and Oprah Winfrey, need I say anymore, I don't have to say anything about her, and J.K. Rowling's of Harry Potter fame, and how others made money what started out just as an idea. So you can take your idea and learn by enrolling at entrepreneurmindworld.com. On Holistic Transformation shows, I interview people who are out there doing things that are actually changing our world for the better. So you can see that there are wonderful things happening no matter what the news says. I also hope they encourage you to do whatever you can do to make this a better world. And it doesn't have to be a big thing, it can be a small thing. Everything adds up. So I usually have a list of people I want to interview weeks ahead of time. But today's guest was someone who said something the other day that riveted me. It brought me up short and it made me think. And that was plenty. When I asked if she would be on our show, she said yes, and I was delighted because she will make you think and move you to actions that you can take to make a difference. Her name is Elizabeth Cain, and she's on the staff of Unity Church of North Charleston in South Carolina. And her role officially is ministry coordinator, but her description should also read powerful speaker, knowledgeable, informed, dynamic person, concerned human being, and an instrument of change for a better world. To give you a bit of background on Elizabeth, she holds a BA in psychology and a master's in social work from University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. She's worked primarily in not-for-profit services for families and children. When she became a mother, she entered the world of Montessori and has a certification in that. And lastly, she's a certified licensed Unity teacher and an assistant to the minister of Unity Church. All Holistic Transformation shows are about people making change for the better in very visible, dynamic ways. But Elizabeth at the podium at Unity Church brought it all home. I can't do justice to what she said, so I'm going to turn it over to her and let her give you the full deal. So, here you are, Elizabeth. Welcome. I want to share with you. Good morning. Can you turn up your mic?
I think I just did.
You're perfect. Look at you. All right, girl.
Good.
Really good. Okay. So I will never forget what happened Sunday at Unity when you got up there and you started talking. So can you tell us a few of the highlights for what you said, and we'll kind of go from there because it was astounding. And I'm pretty conscious about environmental things, but it was like, oh my God, I haven't been paying attention. So fill us in, give us some of the details, and we'll go from there.
Wonderful. Well, it started for me when I went to the Parliament of World Religions. And so it was about 10,000 people from around the world from 212 different faiths. And one of the things that was very clearly on the agenda was care of the earth, and that it crosses all boundaries for everyone, wherever they are, class and race and country. So they made a very good point that our faith communities and our churches have been the basis of a lot of the work that has changed culture. And so they are asking churches and faith communities to really step forward and lead the charge in care of the earth. And so that was right on target with what's in my heart. And so I began researching about how did we end up here and what's going on, because I grew up in eastern Kentucky on 100 acres where we made no trash, if we could, it was quite a goal to never make trash, to use every piece of food, to grow your food, to respect and care for the earth. And so I think about how it was then and how far we've come and how fast we've changed our behaviors and habits and purchases and such. And when I was in college in 1980, I was studying psychology. And one of the courses I took was about how mass marketing and advertising uses psychology to influence buying. And I remember being upset about it then. I thought, I feel very manipulated, and the only purpose of this was they want our money, they want our cash. And so I think that's true more and more and more, that mass marketing and the ways in which they work things do significantly influence us. It is down to a fine science.
Sure. Elizabeth, I'm going to take a break right here just because it's going to be edited. Can you close the blinds in back of you and then get closer to and put on a light? Is there a light in there? Because you're being washed out. Now we can see it. Okay, the other thing is, can you raise the computer up so we see more of you? That's why I have mine on a box or a couple of books or something.
We can.
Sarah's going to love this because she's going to have to edit it out. Good girl. Look at you.
You're giving her a job.
I know.
We want it to look right.
We do. We want people to see you. Okay. No, now we lost you. Okay. Now we get you. We need you up. So my solution and your solution, and you can move the computer back toward you and away from you. So now I don't get you at all. So okay, get rid of the box. Or whatever it was, get rid of that.
I have a smaller thing here.
Well, don't put anything right now. Let's straighten this out.
Okay.
Okay. Can you tilt the back of the computer toward you? That's a girl. That's what we need. One more time. A little bit more. Okay, we're good. Now we can see you. This is perfect. Okay. So we're going to resume. So we're going to go back. We're picking up, you talked about how you felt manipulated by the industry and they only wanted us to buy things. So let's start from here. Go.
There's actually a story about the creation of Listerine that really brings it home, because it was a product that was used for floor cleaning. And when so many other products came out, they decided they needed new uses to keep selling their Listerine. So they added mint and created this situation, this medical condition called halitosis. They made the word up. It wasn't real. It wasn't in medical literature. They created a need. They told people they had bad breath. It was a medical condition called halitosis, and they had the solution. And so that is a lot of what the corporate world does, is they create a fake need and tell us they have the solution. And so over time, halitosis has been recognized in the medical world, but isn't it really interesting of where that came from and why? So we're looking at intention.
So do you think that a lot of the things that we're taking pills for, and I'm using the collective we because I don't, are made up diseases, do you think? Because that just struck me when you said that now. If they're making up all these things and then we have to address them. Do you think that's still going on?
I don't know about medicines, but I think it is so true in beauty and cosmetics.
Yeah.
That you can't have any imperfection on the face, that you can't sweat ever, that if you do, right, you have to use like double, triple aluminum deodorant, So yeah, things that are natural are considered a problem.
Wow.
And we're supposed to somehow purchase our way out of these problems. And the thing that you bought last month isn't even good enough. Now you have to have the new and improved one.
Yeah.
So there is no end to this chain.
So that's kind of a parallel with the amount of trash we have. So there's kind of mental trash that's going on in terms of the manipulation, and then it results in physical trash.
Exactly.
Wow.
And we're in a trash crisis right now. You know, we were told to reduce, reuse and recycle, but even that is not going to be able to manage the amount of trash that we're creating now. The recycling situation now, I don't know that a lot of people are aware that there are no buyers for recycled materials.
No, I had no idea. No.
Right. China stopped accepting our recyclables about 18 months ago, and so it's sitting on barges offshore. It's going in landfills. There isn't a market. So there have been municipalities continue to pick up recycling and say it's recycled, but then ended up admitting that no, in fact, it is going into the landfill.
So is that true? I'm sorry, is that true across the board? Is that happening everywhere or just some places?
Some places have markets and some places don't.
Do you know which ones are which at the moment? Or we can look it up. It'd be interesting to know.
Yeah, yes. That is something that's very important where you are, is to ask, where is it going? Many times people find or catch that it's actually not going into the recycling stream. And the point of it is there isn't a market. So we need to stop creating even the trash that supposedly can be recycled. So in America, 80% of all trash can be recycled. 28% of it actually goes into a blue bucket somewhere. Yeah. But then of that, we're not sure how much is actually treated as a processing, recyclable, reused material. Now, India is starting up some startups that are going to try to take over handling recycling for the world, but we all have to, I think, figure out how to do it ourselves and not create the problem in the first place. A lot of things end up in the landfill, and what people don't understand about the landfill is it's not like an encased concrete situation where it goes in there and stays. It's actually, there's water runoff that comes out of those landfills. And trucks have to come daily and pick up toxic, poison runoff water from the bottom of those landfills and take it off for processing. Wow. Now, I haven't researched where that water goes and how they do it, but the idea that a landfill is a good, solution to this is not true either.
Well, because we see it as a dry thing with mound of stuff. We never know that there's water underneath it.
And you think of all the things that are rotting, all the poisonous toxins that are coming out as things are rotting. Plastic takes from 500 to 1,000 years to disintegrate. And even that is a misnomer because it never goes away. It just gets smaller and smaller and smaller. Wow. And now we have microplastics to the point that it's even in the cellular structure of the fish.
Can you go back about what do you mean in the cellular structure? How is that possible?
Being absorbed into the cells of the fish.
Wow.
So it's going into their gut stream.
Yeah.
And it's so small that it's actually becoming part of the fish. It's called microplastics.
Wow. But does it happen in the next generations? Do they pass that on to the next generations of fish?
I don't know. That's a really good question, isn't it?
That would be a really scary answer, wouldn't it?
There's a lot of scary things about this, but we should not be discouraged.
Okay.
Right. I know a lot of this seems very overwhelming, and it does to me too, but we must all do our part. We can do that personally in our own homes and in our own behaviors, and also as part of the communities that we are in. And the thing is that we can't be perfect and we can't change the world. What we can do is not be part of the problem.
Love it.
That's really what I'm asking people to do, is to start now in doing zero waste. And there are some communities in Manila and different places who actually have cities that are running on a zero waste situation.
Wow.
They have people that have these carts that go by every day through the street and pick up your compost. Every day.
Wow.
Pick up your compost. Pick up your recyclables.
What do they do with it once they get it? What do they do with it?
They have a huge composting area that's the communal composting area.
Okay.
The recyclables, they're trying to find merchants that will take those. Anything that's not any of those, they're actually petitioning to the corporations that created that trash, that they be responsible for that trash from production.
I love that.
End of use.
I love that. That would be a solution here for sure. That would make them not put products into things that have to be thrown away. That would be huge.
That's exactly. So we need to do our part individually and making very awakened consciousness decisions. You used that term that you were awakened during the message that I gave, and that is exactly what has to happen. We can't throw it in a recycle bucket and say, oh, I did a good job anymore. It's beyond that. We need to not purchase things that can't disintegrate easily. You can get water in your reusable water bottle. You can get water in like the wax paper milk cartons kind of structure. There's all kinds of alternatives that are coming online.
Yeah.
But number one is living simply. How much do we need? The two things, as I was driving in thinking about this interview, two things that hit me that I didn't say yesterday was how much convenience and preference has changed the world. If you go down the cereal aisle, there's 200 cereals. How many of those are going to be expired before they're even sold? I remember the first time I went down a cereal aisle, it nearly took my breath away.
Yeah.
And the choice that's available and the preference that are catered to by the marketplace, and the idea that everything must be convenient. That's really where our trash is coming from.
Yeah.
All these single serving items. And so
You're right.
we might have to be a little bit more inconvenienced to take.
But in a way, when you think about it, they have taught, the corporate image people have taught us what is convenient and what isn't. And sometimes the simple things are not inconvenient at all, but we have been taught that they are. So we've been brainwashed. So maybe we need to sort out what really is inconvenient and what isn't. And those cereals that you're talking about, most of them have sugar and dyes and all kinds of things, which we shouldn't be ingesting anyway. So let's chew on that for a minute, Elizabeth. So, I mean, you came from a background where you reused everything. So what is convenience? I mean, was it inconvenient that you did that? Was it harder? Is it harder than going and getting this stuff and then you have to throw it away and then you have to take your trash out and you have to go to the place to put it? So let's look at that for a minute.
Well, I think it depends on how you want to spend your time.
Okay.
Right? That's what convenience is about. It's allotment of time.
Okay.
And so you can work 2 and 3 jobs to make enough money to buy all these convenient things.
Right.
Maybe work 1 job and do your own cooking and grow some food and things like that. But we've been told we must have all of these luxury items. We must have all of these convenience items. And I know a lot of people working 2 jobs or more to make that happen. That was the American dream. And really, it's working us into the ground.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, people are working too much. Do you know, this is in Japan, this is not US, but people are dropping dead at their desks from overwork. I mean, how insane is that? We have just gotten so brainwashed, which I think is your ultimate message here, that we're doing things that are against our best interests.
Yes. May I read the unity statement?
Please.
That I read yesterday. This is a statement of purpose for the unity movement. It says the unity movement is guided by a vision of sacredness and the interconnectedness of all and the interdependence of all life. It is a journey of spiritual relationship with Earth and its creatures. It is through awakened consciousness
Love that.
that we are in the presence of God and see all as the presence of God.
Yeah.
So this is not just a matter of what's good for us, which many times that's how people look at it. And you can look at it that way, but it's also good for every bug and beetle and worm and fish and shark and every microbe that's on the earth. The earth will survive us.
Yeah.
It will keep marching on, right? We may not survive, but the earth will survive.
Yeah.
But how do we love her? How do we take care of her? Oh my goodness, she gives and gives and gives and gives. And it's our, I think, duty, or how do you not love back the thing that gives and gives and gives?
I think we've lost that. Yeah, we've lost that the earth is alive, that the air is her breath, that the waters are her blood. We've lost that connection. And I was thinking about the connection I had in Maine when I had that experience with the red fox that circled me and checked me out. I've never been checked out by a wild animal before. And I just stood there. It's like, okay, what are we doing here? And when he had enough, he went off into the woods. Okay, I got you. I'm going off into the woods. But things like that are extraordinary, and they connect us to the earth, and we lose that. And how do we get back to that awareness? Because I think we all had it.
Mm-hmm. We are under the illusion that we're not really tied to the earth as people, the indigenous people and natives were many thousands of years ago, but it's not true. We're very much in relationship with the earth. We're not doing our part, but we are in relationship with the earth. And really this idea of getting barefoot and getting in the grass, go sit under a tree, take some time. Again, this is time. How are you using your time? And we really are using it spinning in circles.
Yep.
You know, in capitalism, that's what we're doing. We're spinning in circles in capitalism.
Yep.
But I love the idea that's coming out. Don't be discouraged. Things are on the rise, like forest bathing, right?
Yes.
Have you heard of forest bathing? And that's just go get lost in some woods and do it as a sacred act. Do it as a meditation.
Yeah.
That's how we do it. We do it intentionally.
Yeah.
But we first must awaken.
Yeah.
We're all kind of asleep.
Absolutely. I think we've lost the concept of sacredness. What does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's nothing sacred anymore.
Right. Yes.
I mean, it is, but we've lost the connection to it.
Right. Right. And we have forgotten the priorities that help us be human.
Yeah.
We have a consciousness that is unique to humanity.
Yeah.
And we've filled it with things instead of experiences. We've filled it with objects instead of relationships.
Yeah.
And it's just it bleeds down not only with, how we are with animals and earth and resources and water, but also how we are with each other. Are you seeing it?
Yeah.
We are with each other.
Absolutely. I mean, and what's going on politically is a real understanding of loss of touch with humanity, that we're all the same.
Right.
We live in different houses, wear different clothes. We are the same. We're animals with a sacred tie that keeps us connected to everything that we've forgotten about.
Right. Every face is the face of God, and the energy that is God is in all things: rock, trees, water, air, our breath.
Yeah.
That is what is sacred.
Yep.
And that's we need to be awakened to how we honor that and how we cherish that. And I call it love.
Yes, it's a good word for it. Yeah. And the Native Americans know this, and look at how we treat them. I think in some ways we're threatened by the truth that they carry, because it makes us look at how we're living, and they know. So I think one of the first things that the conquerors did, we went in and we killed off all the indigenous people who had the secret of how to live on the earth. That was our first task, get rid of them and bring in a kind of superficial thing. And it's like, I think we need to, and this is what you were talking about yesterday, we need to get back to connecting with the earth, connecting with one another, and knowing what's of value.
Mm-hmm. That is true. If your value is in the objects that you have, the car you drive, the house and neighborhood that you're in, to me, that's you're lost, and I want you to be found. And that's, I really believe this is why it's spiritual work. And I think they were right at the Parliament to say that the church needs to be the flag carrier for this initiative, because it is about honoring each other. It's about respect. It's about love. And I think if we can learn to love the earth again, we'll learn to love each other again as well.
Right.
Love grows, right? And if you can't manage loving the neighbor whose music is too loud and their dog barks and all that, start loving something. Start loving the earth. Love the grass. Go to a tree. Appreciate it. And it will build. It will build.
And the other thing, I talked with somebody yesterday, I can't remember his name, and I love him. He's so great. And I asked him how he was doing. He said, fine. He said, I'm working on myself. I'm working on loving myself. And I think that's a key piece, because when we don't feel secure, we need things. That's how we define ourselves.
Absolutely. We listen to the commercials, right? We're not pretty enough, skinny enough, don't drive the right car, probably have all these medical conditions you didn't even know you had. Right? I mean, it's endless. It's absolutely endless.
It is.
So we have power. People have forgotten their power. That's another thing. We have power. We have cleverness, we have intellect, we have heart, we have spirit, and we can harness all of that for the betterment of the earth and ourselves and our neighbor. And so if it's all within us, I'm not discouraged. I'm really not, especially as I see people awaken and I see movements afoot. But we all need to be reminded that at the bottom of all that is our spirituality.
Yeah.
And I think that's the basis of this work.
And it's not religion, because that is a subset of rules. It's about our connection to ourselves, to earth, to God, whatever that may be for anyone. Yeah.
And each other.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So you talked about some things yesterday that you're going to ask us to do in church in order to teach us how to recycle things and use non-toxic things. Can we talk about that a little bit? That was wonderful.
Yes, we're getting together what we call a blue-green team. I don't know if it'll end up being called Earth Lovers or whatever our team will be.
Whatever,
but it will be a leadership group that will help us do assessments of all the ways in which we're providing our services and doing our work and caring for our grounds. But also, more importantly, I think, is the education of each individual member. Who's open to learning new ways. So we've been a no plastics kitchen. So we were purchasing birch, wooden spoons and forks, and all of our cups are paper and all that. But that was sort of an entry step in my mind, because we're still sending all that to the landfill.
Yeah.
Oh, so I'm looking for us to become no trash. So I've asked people to bring in real spoons and forks, and we will, use those each Sunday in potlucks and dinners and all the things that we do. So that was the first assignment. It's everyone's supposed to go to thrift stores. Please don't buy them new, right? Go to thrift stores, right?
Yes.
We need to reuse.
And thrift store right away is one of the places that we can reuse. Yeah.
Exactly. So they don't know it yet, but probably the next ask will be plates. We've just started. There's the idea of a communal compost area here that I'm very excited about. One thing that I saw at the Parliament also was the Sikhs offered a lunch every day for 10 days for everyone that wanted to come and eat. And it took volunteers, but when you brought your trash up, they had a compost box.
Yeah.
And everything went in there, and then they washed the disposable plate and then put it in recycling. And so this blue-green team, maybe we can set up a schedule that's actually happening at our church when we have meals and things. See what I mean about convenience?
Yeah, I do.
This is an example. It's work. It's good work. It's good for you work.
Yeah.
But it is work to do the right thing by the earth.
Yeah.
And so, I talked about if you want to leave the problem to the scientists and have them figure it out and all that, and it's going to take a long time, or you can be part of turning it around now.
Right.
So that's one of the things I'd like to have here is the composting. Then the other is we're going to have monthly classes that give alternatives to trash. So the first one in February is going to be we're all going to get together and make beeswax wraps, which are in a lieu of aluminum foil or saran wrap. You think how far we've come. So my grandmother would take a plate and she'd put food on it and put another plate on top of it.
Yeah.
Trash, right? Went in the refrigerator. A bowl of soup, saucer on it, go in the refrigerator. Now, so then we went to wax paper, aluminum foil, saran wrap. Now we use press and seal that's got glue on it that touches your food. Who even knows what's in that glue?
Wow.
That's in your food. It's like we need to start thinking.
Yeah.
Convenience isn't convenient if you're sick. Right. Convenience isn't convenient if the ocean is full of plastics.
Yeah, but how hard is it to put a plate on top of another plate? That's not inconvenient.
Who told you you needed to do better?
Yeah.
I bet it wasn't your grandmother.
Yeah.
Right? We had a little joke in church when we were talking about using T-shirts for cleaning and that thing. And I said, yeah, we used to call that rags. Right? Yeah. And we were not embarrassed about that. We were proud to get another use out of something before it was actually trash. I mean, we wore things out. Remember wearing things out?
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
And I remember buying, and this probably isn't good either, leather handbags and keeping them as they age because the leather got more and more beautiful as it aged instead of running out and getting the newest plastic handbag, which costs like $1,000. I mean, it's like, it is all advertising. Every time I think about this stuff, I think about what you said. It is about being manipulated, and that's all the time. I mean, if you think about watching television, how many commercials are there? Commercial as opposed to content. More commercials than content.
I've not watched network TV in 5 years.
Yeah.
I can't take it. I really can't. I'll watch movies and downloads and things like that. And even in they're doing product placements in movies now.
They always have been. I came from the professional theater, and we were aware when people went into movies, that's been there forever.
Yeah. We're just now realizing it. We're just now waking up, or I am on that. Yeah. It's so blatant now. It's just so absolutely blatant.
So what made you tune into this? What was it that awakened you again right now? Why now?
I think it was about 5 years when I really got serious about my own spiritual growth.
Okay.
And had a serious meditation practice. And I was asking myself again, what do I want to support and what do I not want to support?
Right.
With my thoughts, my emotions, my beliefs, my money, my behaviors, my actions. And I'm not all the way there yet. I'm, like I said the other day, I've been trying to be vegan. I've been vegetarian for years. I haven't eaten meat in like 40 years, but I've been trying to be a vegan.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It's, and mostly I am, but there's a little cream in there, or there's a little something in there that makes it not vegan. But my point about that is, try stuff. You'll get better at it. So I'm 80% better than I was before I tried to be vegan, and I'll stay where I am now for now. Right. And but these little ways in which, and we could talk a lot about care of animals that influence. I'm a compassionate eater. Sure. Not about anything other than compassion. The choices I make about eating. So that's true about my choices and behaviors, about what I choose to create in terms of what the earth has to deal with. A lady in church yesterday said it reminded her of her grandmother saying, who do you think you are to put that there? If she left something on the ground or something.
Yeah.
And exactly, who do we think we are?
Yeah.
I think we've gotten a little above ourselves to think we could, trash and burn.
You talked yesterday about dominion over that was really powerful. Can you go back there a little bit?
I can. So because the Parliament of Religions was the place that it came from, this what we're doing here at church, it made me really curious about what other faiths have thought about care of the earth or relationship with the earth. And so before Judeo-Christians, it was about being in cycle and in circle with the earth as mother or earth as source. It was very clearly easy to see the consequences of your behavior with earth because you're trying to drink the water where you live. Yeah. It's all natural, and you're trying to eat from the animals and the plants and things. And so there was this respect in terms of what I was saying about the earth gives and gives and gives. Yeah. They were very aware of that because it came directly from the earth. They went and picked the apple, Yeah. And so, and the idea that God is a part of all that, the indigenous communities, the Eastern religions knew that there is no separation. The Sikhs, all of the Eastern traditions, the Jains and Taoists and Shinto and all of them. But when Judeo-Christianity came around, we got the Old Testament Genesis that says, God says, you are to go and have dominion over the earth. You are to subdue it and have dominion over everything that moves on the earth. That's a real different paradigm to come from when you're thinking about your relationship. So the earth went from mother, family, to now man is above, and man is to dominate and subdue the wild and bring it under control and have authority over. Now, there are many, many lessons given in Judeo-Christian Islamic traditions about being responsible stewards of the earth. I'm just saying that shift of thought in terms of relationship with the earth. It was also mentioned that this was around the time that agriculture became part of the human experience. So not only were they thinking it, they were doing it. They were subduing and creating fields to grow wheat and rye and those kinds of things. So that is embedded theology that I think the West still has about our relationship with the earth.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Right. She's not mother giver. Right. She's to be tamed and used.
Yeah. And it made me think, this is kind of off the subject in a way it's not. There was on Facebook, some of the things I love there about a horse in France. And this horse is a 14-year-old regular stallion, all that stuff. And somehow his owner takes him into hospitals, and the horse chooses to go into rooms where there are terminally ill people. And he goes, this huge thoroughbred horse, puts his head down, and with his mouth, I don't know if any of you know how a horse's mouth works, but this very, very gentle lips on the person's stomach or on their heart or something. And he just stands there with them and he looks them in the eyes. And every patient has such a positive experience. And then when he knows it's done, the horse leaves and they go down and he chooses the rooms to go into. So there's intelligence.
There is.
And there is compassion. There is connection. I mean, so when you talk about dominion over, why would anybody want dominion over an animal that knows so much better than we do about some things?
Yeah, there was a nursing home a couple of years ago that reported that they had a cat that lived there. Yeah. And the cat would go sleep the night with whoever was going to pass that night.
Wow.
And they knew.
Yeah.
When they saw the cat go in there, it was very aged. All of these people were 90s and 100. But they started noticing the cat would be in there. Yeah. And like they knew to keep company on the passing.
Wow. So that's another place where we've lost connection. and respect. And we treat animals like people dress up their dogs with collars with rhinestones, and they put hats on them and all that stuff. Again, we've lost the connection of what an animal truly is and the wisdom that they carry and their heart and their energy. So that's another, it reminds me, it's another place we've lost that too.
Exactly. So now we get to hear the message that our dog's fur is not enough for them to be warm. They need sweaters and they need boots. Can you imagine boots on dogs because it's wet outside?
Well, yeah. I mean, I've had sight hounds and they have no fat. That's how they have all that muscle, because if you have 100%, they're 60% muscle and 40% fat. Other dogs are the other way around. They actually need coats. But not all dogs do. This is true. So that's an amendment, if I may.
Okay. Got it. But we can't overgeneralize, can we? Either way.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. And that, I think, that statement is really important, because I think we do generalize and we put people in categories and behavior in categories. And that's also a danger. We don't see the individual things, we label. And we see it in our government right now. We label things as this or that rather than looking at the individual instance and the individual person stuff. So this is really what you started something, Elizabeth. This goes everywhere.
I hope so. Let us all awaken and figure out, we can figure this out. We really can. We can figure out how to at least not be the problem.
Yeah.
Now, I know scientists and people much smarter than I are working on the bigger picture, but I don't want to make their work harder.
I love that.
I'm going to do my part. I'm going to do my part, and I'm going to educate those around me that are willing to consider new ways. They're really going to be the old ways, but some different ways to, I grew up with people that were a sturdy, good-hearted people in the mountains, and they were clever. They didn't have a lot, but I really appreciate people's cleverness. So I'll be asking others to come and share what they have figured out. And, together we can do this as a community here. And hopefully this will spread and other people will join the bandwagon that there are things we can do. It looks overwhelming. It looks huge. But this isn't, they say for your grandchildren, you should do it for your grandchildren, or you should do it for the earth.
Yeah.
Right?
That's a good point. And there was a time, I'm trying to remember when it would be. It would probably be the 80s when I was in Rhode Island at that time. And there were people there who were very earth conscious and were talking about the rivers as blood and all that stuff, and about really connecting to the earth as alive. And I think that's one of the key things, and that's what you've been talking about. And seeing one another as alive. I think sometimes we just look at personalities and we forget that there's somebody living, breathing in there, trying to grow, trying to do the best they can. What do you think about all that?
I do believe that, especially in Unity. I have a good quote.
Okay, go for it. I like your quotes.
So from Eric Butterworth, who is a reverend who has passed now, but was the Unity minister at downtown Manhattan, New York, had a huge church there. It says, as I say so often, man is not in the world to set it right, but to see it right.
Wow.
And in Unity, that means that we see the Christ within in all people and all beings. Yeah. And we honor the sacred in each being.
Yeah, right. That right away would change absolutely everything. I mean, however you see it, I might see it slightly different, but it's all the same thing. It's just different words and probably slight changes in it. But if we did that, that would make such a huge difference. And I think if we would treat one another that way, that would probably also change our ability to feel like the earth is alive and feel like animals are really alive and conscious beings. So, yes. So what's your vision for this thing that you started, the Blue Green Team? What's your vision here, Elizabeth?
I would love to be a groundbreaking model.
Okay.
The way in which a community can learn together, grow together, and create change. And I'd love to be a place where other churches or other communities or workplaces come to see how we did it.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. The other thing too, that kind of touches on it, I think we need to connect up more with groups, different groups. I think we're so separated. Like there's this group doing this and this and this and this. And one of the things that people talk about now is how lonely a lot of people are. But when you separate yourself out from everything, yeah, that's what happens. So how do you think we can connect more people together? And that's why I'm doing this show. I want people to understand what's going on, and hopefully they'll start connecting up with one another and talking to one another. So how do you see this happening? How can we do this?
Well, one thing is we're looking at doing an interfaith garden here. And so that would include all of the faith communities around us in the neighborhood and other people who are for green living. And so it will be open to everyone. And then holding classes that are open to the public as well. So we'll advertise and say, come and see a different way in which to approach, this as least trash as possible. Style of living. It's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there, like you say, there are many organizations. There's one here that focuses on waste with food and trying to capture food before it's tossed, so there's so many things that we need to hook in with here, because a third of all food that's grown is tossed as waste before it's even bad.
That's so shocking.
A third of fresh water. You know what the water situation is in the world? A third of fresh water is used to create these foods no one will eat. Farmland the size of China is wasted on food that's never eaten.
Wow.
Loss of minerals in the soil. It's waste. It's waste. We can do better than this.
And thinking about all the people who are homeless, that homelessness is part of all of the stuff we're talking about. It comes from some of this disconnection. But I mean, there's plenty of food, and it could feed people.
And honestly, most food waste is in the home.
Yeah.
Not restaurants and grocery stores. It's people in their own homes. That's why I want to work with individuals.
Smart woman.
It starts with each individual person.
Yeah, that's a really, I tend to focus on groups because I feel like they have large impact, but you get to be a group by being an individual first. So I love that. I think that's really, really important and a really good focus. So are there other churches that are doing this kind of thing that you know of?
There's actually a national group called Green Faith. Okay. And I went to their workshop at the Parliament, and they will assist any church community on this journey. Now, Unity also has its own from our headquarters, as you might say, and we work with them. But any community can join greenfaith.com. Go there, read about it. They will help you and mentor you. And I'm going to get the word out around here in the Low Country and see what other people are doing.
Wow.
That we can hook in with.
I would love that. What was the first moment that you remember that you just awakened to all of this? What was the aha moment? Do you remember it?
I think it was that cereal aisle.
Really?
It was traumatic.
Wow. Whatever works, Elizabeth. We're grateful for that cereal aisle.
I just turned that corner and I was disgusted. I was absolutely physically ill.
Wow.
At the thought of who in the world needs 200 choices for cereal. What has happened? Yeah. What has happened to us? And how much of this is just waste?
Yeah. Wow. So you were ready. So there were other things leading up to it, but that was the aha moment. So I think we all have to be aware of our aha moments and not push them aside and let them be as big as they need to be. If you were going to say what people need to do in terms of their consciousness, what would you say to that? So this is not about recycling or anything. It's about being conscious where, and you said it perfectly, that's where it all comes from, awakening.
Awaken consciousness. For me, it happens twofold.
Okay.
For me, it was learning. I was reading, I was spending my time with people who modeled the life that I wanted or could tell me about books to read. And because I wasn't in the circle of people who were thinking this way and I didn't know where they were.
Okay.
So reading really good works, I think, are important. And the other is spending time in the silence. You must disconnect. You can call it meditation, you can call it forest bathing, you can call it playing music, painting, whatever it is, but you must disconnect and just be.
Yeah.
And just be, whatever that is for you. For some people, you know, it is full meditation and you take the class and you figure it out. But I like rather to say silence.
Yeah.
No commercials. No voice of society. No needs or expectations. Just be with yourself.
Yeah.
Be with yourself.
Yeah.
And I do encourage meditation, but that isn't for everyone.
Right.
But, you know, time in which everything's off.
Yeah.
Nobody needs anything from you.
Yeah.
And you can just be. Now, how much of the day do we do that?
Yeah. Nil from most people. And most people come home, they're exhausted. And so they just, and I've been there too, and I just like chill out. Lately, I've been reading Catherine Ponder again. I love her, The Dynamic Laws of Prosperity. And she's talking about making that connection. And that's all she wrote. It's like, make that connection.
Make that connection.
We're talking about. Yeah.
There is more going on than you're tuned into spiritually.
Yeah, absolutely.
So make the connection.
Yeah.
That is where your power lies. When we were talking about power, that is where your power lies. Absolutely.
Yeah.
In yourself,
Yeah.
knowing yourself and connecting to spirit and all of these things, all these commercials. I think one thing my dad did give me this question. He was a character. But some ridiculous commercial or whatever would come up and he would look at me and he'd say, "Did you believe that?" What a great question. When the world brings all this stuff to you, do you believe that?
Yeah.
Do we ask ourselves that anymore? Or we just say, "Oh, I need this or that." Or,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, it all goes back to the same thing where we started kind of, and that is that we have been so brainwashed into thinking that this is how we should live. We never question it. And like the millennials that people talk about so much, but it's not just millennials. They're starting to rebel. They're starting to not want to follow the herd. They know something's wrong.
They absolutely do. They absolutely do. I have two young sons in the early 20s. And they have said to me, "I don't want the big house. I don't want, the best car. And I want to travel and I want to have relationship and I want to have fun. And I don't want to be a slave to bills."
I love them. How did they get so smart at 20? I wasn't that smart.
Well, my 24-year-old just came back from Machu Picchu. That's what he chose for, instead of buying a house and all that kind of stuff. He went to Machu Picchu.
Wow.
I've been trying to get there my whole life. I've been paying bills. I should have just done what he did. But when we came along, I got married in the 80s, and it was a formula. There was a prescription. You got married, you bought a house, you had 2 cars, you started kids,
Right.
I am loving the freedom that these millennials have given themselves to say, I don't want to be a slave to a job. My life is going to be more than that. My son in Norfolk, he never starts his car. He uses all public transportation and Uber and all that. He has a car for trips, but, people are sharing cars. People are sharing housing situations.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
They're deciding for themselves.
Yeah. So how can us older guys do that? We need to like disconnect, unplug from
Yeah.
that. And I'm starting to see a lot of it. And after I left yesterday, I went into my car and took my plastic bottle of water and drank out of it and then put it in the trash. I mean, it's like, yeah, I mean, and I'm fairly conscious. So, I mean, I've still got so far to go to unplug from this. And I've unplugged a lot because my life has been very different. I haven't followed the formula, but I've been on the periphery of it. And I've looked up to it too and judged myself for not being in it further.
Oh, that's what I mean about the freedom.
Yeah.
I respect the courage and freedom and bravery. There's so many ways to make a life.
Yeah.
And I love the way people are doing it. And it's inspiring to me to make different choices.
The phrase that you use is telling. You didn't say make a living, you said make a life. And therein lies the tale, if we can use
There it is.
Shakespeare.
There it is. Yes. You have all the power you need to do that already within you.
Yep. So maybe that could be a course that we all teach one another at Unity. I like that. But it is about unplugging in a way that makes sense, because I was a hippie. I grew up in all of that. And that's what we were talking about doing. And people actually did it. I remember my husband and I were in the theater, and so we had nothing. So we would go, we were in Rhode Island, and we would go and get mussels from the rocks, and we would make steamed mussels. We would make mussel cakes. We would make sauteed mussels. But that's what we did. And in the theater at that point, whoever had money treated you to a drink. And we all did that, and nobody expected everyone to pay, because if they weren't working or whatever, that's kind of how it was. So the theater at that point, before it became a huge commercial thing, was a family, and those are the kinds of things we did, and that was the kind of living we did. So
and notice what you just said. It was before it became commercial.
Yeah, bingo. Yeah. Because that's what I keep thinking about. How did I lose the woods that I walked in every day and had a connection with? How did I lose living off the land like I did? You know, it's like, so it's going back. So this is much more than, you start a huge thing, Elizabeth. This is much more than just recycling or cutting down trash. This is cutting down the trash in our minds and in our way of looking at the world, and therein lies the whole thing. So that's something that I will be looking at. I'm sure you will be looking at, because yeah. So does anything come to mind and how we can start that process?
I think we learned the skills.
Okay, like what?
A lot of people say, well, I don't know how to do that. So let's all bring what we know together and share, so we can up our skills on earth care. Somebody else knows more about composting than me.
Right.
Somebody else knows more about food preservation. Somebody else knows more about packaging and how to get away from that. You know, we're going to do everything from, you know, everybody bring a sewing machine if you have one. Come on if you don't. And we're going to make the produce bags that you use to purchase your produce. That little thin plastic creates so many problems. That's the thing the sea turtles are trying to eat, because it looks like, you know, jellyfish, and it's getting caught in the throats of fish and strangling them. And shopping bags and produce bags are a big part of the problem, because they don't stay in the trash. They blow away. They get in the downstreams and the creeks and rivers, and they end up in the ocean. So that's huge. So I think that's it, is figuring out what impact we can have and pull in the people that have the skills and learn from them.
So do you think that will change our mindset in terms of disconnecting from the dream that we've been put out there for, the American dream, if you will? It's not just America, it's everywhere now. But do you think that will help us disconnect from that falseness?
I think it will.
Do you?
I do. A lot of times that happens in midlife anyway, right? We
Yeah.
have a little midlife crisis and we go through everything and say, do I still believe that? Do I believe this? Do I believe that? It's a great thing for everybody to go through, as much as people.
If you're lucky, you
say
do
it
that.
isn't.
Not everyone does that. Yeah.
Oh gosh, I wish everyone would do that.
Me too.
But, a lot of it is about confidence too. If you think it's hard, then it's hard. It's a
Yeah.
lot about what you think about stuff. But if you're learning skills that help you see that it's really not more convenient if it's making you sick, right? If you're not healthy,
Yeah.
then it's not more convenient,
Yeah.
And, preference needs to be more than just what something tastes in your mouth. Like we were talking about, the corporations need to be responsible for production to end of
I
product.
love that. I
We
love
need
that.
to be responsible with I put this in my mouth, I have a preference for this, but then what happens with all the rest?
Yeah.
So we all have to have our part in the responsibility
Yeah.
comes with this. And so we just begin. You say, how do you begin? You begin.
Yeah.
Start.
Yeah.
We did a meditation for the love of the earth yesterday, and that is something that would be wonderful for people to do every day at home. And it's really just that connecting to that life energy that's
So
there.
Say it now, please.
Say the meditation we did?
Mm.
Oh, okay. I don't have it written, and I do this off the cuff, so I'll do it off the cuff now.
You're good. You're good. My money is on you. You're good.
Okay. So we relaxed in our chairs and we dropped our shoulders and we sat with our eyes closed and we breathed in a natural breath. And in our hearts, we held a vision of the most beautiful thing we'd ever seen in nature. There are things so beautiful that make you cry. So in your life, think of that beautiful place once again, and in your heart, hold the love and respect and awe that you feel for the creation and the Creator, for the divine intelligence and the divine love displayed in front of you. So you breathe on that while those emotions and thoughts fill your heart space. And then we send that love, that caring, that awe, that respect through our spine, down our legs into Mother Earth. We thank her. We bless her. We honor her. That love and respect and care and blessing goes to each creature in the soil, down to the microorganisms, all the worms and beetles and eggs waiting to hatch, up through the trees and grass to all the mammals, reptiles and insects, to the waters of the earth and all that live there, to the birds of the sky. We are in awe. We see your divine presence and your divine life, and we send love.
That's beautiful. That's wonderful. And
then you would sit in the silence.
yeah, what a shift in the energy. I mean, I felt that so much. I was back in those woods. So thank you for that. Yeah, it's like, and as you said, it's pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward. It's just remembering and seeing clearly, and then having the intention to just do it.
It is about intention. If we go about these tasks with the intention of fear, we're actually adding to the situation. You want to go into this with the intention of love and care and blessing, and knowing, as we said, we see things right.
Yeah.
We see what can be, and we hold that vision, not in fear, but in love.
Yeah, I love that. So what is the vision you're going to hold?
That we can do this. I'm so jazzed up. And because of how many people got excited.
Yeah.
It's like, it is time. It's time for us to do this work. I feel like I've been working towards it for at least from birth, growing up. But at least 5 years, I've really, done my own practice.
Yeah.
And now I feel like I'm ready to, and not perfectly, nothing's perfect. That's okay.
That doesn't even matter.
No, it doesn't matter. But that does stop a lot of people from trying. It really does.
Wow.
So I want to encourage you to try some things. Try them. Learn some new skills. Get on the internet and look at eco-living and those kinds of things. They're actually calling it eco-justice now.
Really? I love that word, that concept. Wow.
It's become a justice issue because there's such disparity about who's dealing, the plastic, that the 2 islands of plastic bigger than Texas, they're not coming up on American shores, are they?
Yeah.
They're going to these poor little islands. They're doing the best they can just to survive. Now they've got all our trash.
Yeah.
It is eco-justice.
I love that. Elizabeth, this has been wonderful. Yesterday was wonderful, and that's why I wanted to have you on the show, and I wanted you to really make people think and see what's possible, and you certainly did that. The meditation will stay with me. That was amazing, and this will be up on the website probably early March, actually. So they have to wait for that, but then people can use the meditation, and I'm sure you've inspired a lot of people. So I thank you so much.
Service is actually online as a podcast for unitycharleston.org.
Oh, okay, great. So they can hear
the full thing January 27th on our, just go back to January 27th and find it. The whole service is there.
And the address is, again?
Unity.org or unitycharleston.org.
I love it. Thank you, Elizabeth, for being you and for sharing that.
Thank you.
Thank you. So you heard it from somebody who is really made the commitment. So thank you, Elizabeth, from Unity Church of North Charleston here in South Carolina. You changed me, and I think you changed a lot of people yesterday, and as this show goes up, you will have impact. And I thank you all for listening to the show today on Holistic Transformations. And we come to you every 2 weeks to bring you ideas from people who are doing things out there and changing our world. And by working together, we are changing our world. So today we're brought to you by the free webinar, Turn Your Great Idea into Dollars, teaching you how people you read about in the news did it with their great idea. And hopefully your great idea will be something that will connect us back to the earth. So go to Entrepreneur Mind World and enroll for the free webinar. So I'm your host, Diane Shaver, and I ask you to contribute in any way that you can think of to make this a kinder, more compassionate world for all. And inviting you to listen in 2 weeks to our next show when I interview another person who's out there making this a better world. So bye-bye for now. Bye-bye.
We hope that you enjoyed the show. To hear more of these wonderful shows on selfdiscoverymedia.com, just look up our podcast genre list. You will see many shows archives there ready for listening. Don't forget to share these wonderful shows. And if you wish to be a guest or a host, or you have an organization that needs to be highlighted, contact us at info@selfdiscoverymedia.com. Bye for now.